Okay, this problem asks us to figure out the mass of propane that contains 7.45 times 10 to the 22 carbon atoms. So I'm going to organize my thoughts in the same way that I always have, starting off with what am I given? I'm given 7.45 times 10 to the 22 carbon atoms. Now, what am I asked for? I'm asked for the mass of C3H8. Okay, now that I'm asked, I've got that, what's the basic plan? The basic plan is to go from the units in 1 to the units in 2. So that's number of carbon atoms to the mass of C3H8. Now there isn't a direct path, so I have to figure out something step by step. And so the step-by-step plan involves this. Starting with the number of carbon atoms, I can use Avogadro's relationship to figure out the moles of carbon. Then once I have the moles of carbon, I can use the formula to figure out the moles of C3H8, and then I can use the molar mass to get the grams of C3H8. Now there is another path. I can, instead of going to moles of carbon second, I can go to the number of carbon atoms. Then once I know the number of carbon atoms, I can, instead of going from the moles of carbon, I can go to the number of C3H8 molecules. And once I know the number of C3H8 molecules, then I know the number of moles of C3H8. Once I know the number of moles of C3H8, then I can convert to the mass of C3H8. Now, this last step in both cases is done with the molar mass of C3H8. In the first plan, I start with Avogadro's number. In the second plan, I start with the formula. And then it's just switched. So that in the second plan, I use Avogadro's number next. And then I use the formula second in the first plan. And so I'm only going to show the first plan. And so let's go ahead and get rid of this guy. And let's write everything down that we have. So it's 7.45 times 10 to the 22nd carbon atoms. I need 1, 2, 3 per expressions. The first per expression is Avogadro's relationship. So the number of carbon atoms per mole of carbon atoms, and that's 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. 1 mole of, the next one is the number of moles of carbon per mole of C3H8, and it's 1 mole of C3H8 is 1 mole of carbon. The last step is the molar mass. 1 mole of C3H8 is 44.096 grams of C3H8. And so when I run it through my calculator, I get 1.82 grams of C3H8, and that is the final answer. Remember, in the second plan, it had you swap these two relationships. The numerics stay the same, but the units in the per expressions just change slightly. In either case, you should both get 1.82 grams of C3H8.